Welcome to Motivate, Grind, Succeed, the podcast, the show that exists to help you simplify and systemize success with high performance habits in the 4 pillars of life. My name is Rasean. I am your host, as well as your favorite internet neurotransformation coach. And today's episode, we're going to be talking about how to destroy laziness. By the end of this episode, you will have 3 practical steps to help you to stop procrastinating and achieving your goals. So, a lot of people, myself included, struggle with procrastination. Okay. You always want to put something off because you don't really feel like doing it right now. I fully understand it happens to the best of us. Some days you just don't want to do it. And I fully understand that. However, it's also important to realize that every time we put something off, that is also preventing us from achieving our potential, especially when it is something that we know that we need to do. And so overcoming procrastination in and of itself is a discipline. It's not something that we're born with. It's why our parents always need to teach us to keep going. It's why my parents put me into martial arts since I was about 4 years old. And they gave me the iconic saying of, we pay, you are going to perform. You're going to go. As long as we're paying, you're going to go. And they didn't stop paying. So me being the little smart kid I was like, why don't you just stop paying? And they said, because we're not going to stop paying. And then that was pretty much it. That was pretty much the end of the conversation. And that is the discipline there. Regardless of how you feel, regardless of what you're doing, regardless of what's going on, you made a pact with yourself that you were going to do something because you said you were going to do it. And that is that. There is no ifs, ands, buts about it. You said you were going to do something, so it's time to do it. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go through the 3 steps here that I have for you on how to help you to stop procrastinating and essentially destroy that laziness and that slothfulness that we all have inside of us. And the first thing is to not negotiate with your mind. And so mental negotiation is something that we need to understand. And that is that the best salesperson in the world to you is yourself. It doesn't matter how many sales scripts, how much psychology a salesperson has. If your mental state, your mental negotiation is a hard and fast no, it doesn't matter what kind of tactics a salesperson uses, the answer will always be no. However, if you are a hard, fast yes, the salesperson, external, doesn't have to really sell you anything. You've already sold yourself on what it is that this person is selling you. Now, remove that salesperson from the entire equation. When you say you are going to perform a certain activity, like wake up early, go to the gym, read that book, whatever it may be, when you negotiate with your mind, if it's not a hard and fast, I will do this regardless of the circumstance, regardless of how I feel, because this is what we do, your brain will negotiate and find every single reason to not let you do that. So for example, if you said you're going to wake up at 6:30 and you stay in bed past 6:30, your brain found every single reason as to why you didn't need to wake up at 6:30. Maybe saying, well, it's going to take me about 10 minutes to get up and get dressed, and maybe about another 5 minutes for me to actually put together whatever else I need to go and then leave the house. And I need to be at that certain place by 7:30, and it's like a 30-minute drive. So I can technically get up at 6:45 and still really make it. And plus, if I'm like 2 minutes late, people kind of understand because traffic is a thing. Now you're negotiating. See how easy that is? And of course, you're probably not consciously thinking that because it all happens in a split-second decision where you just hit snooze and go back to sleep. And then you wake up at 6:45 like, oh, crap, I'm going to be late. That's how it happens. That's mental negotiation. And that's one example of it. Not going to go down the list because there's literally 1,000,003 different kind of examples of mental negotiation. And I don't want to make this episode like 2 weeks long straight. So the important thing is understanding that every time you try to rationalize something, that is mental negotiation. And so how do we bypass? How do we circumvent? How do we prevent this best case? And that is to take immediate action. Don't give your mind a chance to negotiate, because you'll notice if you said, I'm going to do something, day one, I'm going to do this, and you're high off of adrenaline, high off of motivation, and you want to go do something, go and do it. Because the longer you wait from that initial stimulus, the easier it's going to be for your brain to fall back into its default state of what you were doing prior, especially if your PCR has not been crossed. Now, what in the world is PCR? It's something I like to call your pain comfort ratio. And what that means is that everybody has a pain comfort ratio where the level of comfort that you are at and the level of pain you are at are always constantly in flux, but it will require an extreme level of pain. When the pain that you are going through, whether it be a physical pain, an emotional pain, it be a mental pain, whatever that pain is for you, that discomfort, that knowing that something needs to change, until that level and that threshold is reached, you're not going to really take the initiative and change. It happens a lot. As we all know, a lot of people will go to a job that they're not super happy with, but they'll say things like, this is fine. This is what I have to do. You know, this it's not the best job in the world. You know, I've never worked a job where I really, really enjoyed it. All these kind of things, because again, nothing's going to ever, don't get this misconstrued now. Okay. Everything is going to have some downsides to it. There's nothing in this world that's going to be absolutely perfect. Okay. Even if you start a business and want to do all that, nothing's going to be perfect in it at all. So don't think that I'm saying that you're going to find something that's absolutely perfect. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is that everything's going to have some give and take. You want to find a thing that gives you the most amount of comfort with the least amount of pain in terms of your passion. That's PCR. We're going to make a separate episode based on just that, where I go into a deep dive, but that's not this episode. But that's just to give you an overall viewpoint of that. So when you reach that point of, I need to go ahead and do this right now, just do it. Just go. Action, speed, do it. Because the longer you take, like I said already, the longer you take to go from thinking to action, your brain will find every single reason to not take action later. Which is why a lot of times, I'll go back to me back when I was in college. That's why a lot of times when I watched those motivational videos, I was hyped up for a while. And then that's when I was going crazy, going ham at studying, because I was hyped up off of motivational adrenaline. And then again, I saw the most amount of gains from that in terms of studying and in terms of performance. But had I watched it, waited about 5 minutes, it would have been gone. And I would have lost all interest in studying and lost all interest in wanting to do anything that's productive. Same thing here. If you need even more help on how do I take the immediate action? Simple. Whatever you're thinking about, 3, 2, 1, go. That's it. That's what you're going to do in your head. Every time you say, man, I need to go and take the chicken out the freezer. 3, 2, 1. And by the time you get to 1, you better have been up and moving. Now, is that a very simple thing? Yes. Will most of you do it? Probably not. And I hope you all prove me wrong and you all actually go ahead and do that. Because you are going to see that when you start doing something as simple as 3, 2, 1, go, and you actually do it, you're going to start to see that, wait a minute, it wasn't that difficult, actually. For me to just go take the chicken out the freezer, it didn't require that much. It required less than 30 seconds, and I was already done, instead of pushing it off until later in the day and then probably completely forgetting about it. Exactly. That's when you start realizing, wait a minute, the hardest part was me having to actually get up off of the couch. That was the hardest part, was the start. Similar to how the hardest part of going to the gym is starting, or how getting out of bed first thing in the morning to start the day tends to be the most difficult. Or if you have a new project that you're working on, the start is always the hardest. Or if you're going to start up a new project, maybe in the backyard, like building a shed or something, the start of it is usually the hardest. Are you seeing a theme here? The start is usually the hardest because it requires the most amount of mental energy to get past that comfort zone threshold. So once you realize that the hardest part is the start, personal example, so you guys have been listening to the show for a while, you know that I really, really do love my fitness, right? I love fitness. I love working out, all that kind of stuff. Is it to the point where I just absolutely am enthralled by going to the gym? No, especially after a long work day, especially getting up, commuting to work, and then working, and then work is done. Do you really think after being up since like 6 in the morning and now it's going on like 5 p.m. and I've been working and commuting, do you really think I feel like going to the gym and doing another like hour of work, physical stress every day? No, I don't feel like doing that every day. But again, what do? I take my bag, because this is what I do. Take the bag, and I told myself, this is what we do now. This is the discipline. I do not negotiate. I say, if I am going to work and it is a certain day of the week, I am going to the gym. I do not negotiate. This is what I do now, period. For example, if it is Monday and I do not have any extra activities to take care of on Monday that have popped up just based on life events happening, I am going to the gym, period. Doesn't matter what's going on. It doesn't matter if I have to get out of work an extra 45 minutes late. I'm going to the gym. This is what we do now. We do not negotiate. That's number one. Do not negotiate with the mind. Take immediate action. Create movement. Once you start moving in the direction of what it is that you said you were going to do, it becomes exponentially easier to just continue. Trust me on this one. The second thing is to finish what you start. So now that you started, 3, 2, 1, go. Now you got to finish. Okay? This is why a lot of people don't start, because they know they got to finish, so they don't even start. Okay? Many people are really good at starting something. Let's say you get past the mental hurdle. You say, Rasean, I don't have a problem with the mental hurdle of getting things started. Fantastic. This point might be for you, because a lot of people can start something and there's unfinished projects left, right, center, up, down, all the kinds of cardinal directions. Unfinished projects galore. So what you want to do is develop the discipline to finish the task that you start before you start a new one. Finish the task completely. You can start with something super simple. For example, when you wake up, you make your bed fully. Then you put away your clothes after trying them on fully. You don't just try a shirt and pants and then put the shirt away. No, you put everything away. Okay? Wash the dishes immediately after eating. Don't just stack them up. Wash them immediately. These sound simple. These sound easy. And it's because they are. We're trying to start simple. So when you get to something bigger, again, with my example of working out. So when you get to something that is bigger, now, no matter how tired I am in the middle of the entire workout routine, I need to finish. Going back to the example I had with my parents putting me into martial arts since I was 4 years old. They said, we are going to pay. You're going to start from a white belt and you are going to finish, meaning you're going to go all the way through until black belt. And that's what happened. Now, albeit I was young, I had external circumstances to assist, but you can take that example of my story and implement it and use some creativity. I know it's going to use some brain power. I don't know your exact situation. Obviously, I'm not working with you directly, but use some creativity, use some brain power, and figure out, hey, do I need an external circumstance? Can I use my significant other to remind me? Can I use reminders on my phone? Can I make it easier for me to be able to reduce that activation energy that I need to be able to accomplish what I want to accomplish? How can I make it easier for me to finish what I start? And even backtrack another step, how can I make it easier for me to start so that way the finish becomes even easier? And it all comes down to building up the discipline. There's no shortcuts. There's no fast track. It's just the discipline over and over and over again. And I wish there was a prettier answer. I wish there was a fast track way, because if there was, I would be telling you to just do this just day in, day out to make things quick. But there isn't. There is not a way to make this any easier except just doing it. And the last thing that I have for you for destroying laziness is to always, I mean, there's not a point in time where you should not, always do more than you said you would. In other words, under promise, over deliver. Why do we need to do this? You are training your brain with the power of one more. Do more than you plan to do. That way you can exceed expectations and show yourself and others, I can do more than what was promised. If you told yourself, for example, I'm going to run a mile, push yourself to run 1.1 miles. now you'll be able to realize, wait, I can actually do more. And you'll notice that when you start doing just a little bit more, you might start getting into a little bit of a groove of, oh, if I just did one more, can I do another one? Can I do another one? I find that a lot with fitness too, especially if I'm lifting any sort of weight. If I told myself I'm going to do, let's say, 8 repetitions of an exercise, and I feel like I can do another one, I will do another one. And I go, can I do one more? And I'll do another one. Very much struggling, but I can do another one. And I say, let me take like 5 seconds. Can I do another one? And I do another one. And it's just this brain power, just like, oh my gosh, I'm so much more powerful and stronger than I thought that I was, recruiting more muscle fibers. Same thing. Let's say you're giving a public speech and you practiced it 5 times. Can you do it one more? Because now it's like, well, what is 6 going to do that 5 already hasn't done? Ingrain it into your memory more. You just became that much more comfortable. And it's not going to be night and day difference. That's the crazy thing. It's not going to be a night and day difference of your comfort level, of your capabilities or anything like that. But it's the power of one more over time. Imagine if you did something, and this is again, going back to the concept of the power of one more. If you did one thing, one extra time per day, let's say it's practice a speech. If you practice a speech every single day for an entire year, if you did one extra practice a day, by the end of the year, that's 365 extra practices. You have practiced something 365 more times than somebody else who did it. And you can't tell me if you do something more than 300 times more than somebody else, you're not going to be better. That's the power of doing more than you said that you would. Because not only are you going to be able to push past your limits, and I will be able to develop extra willpower to show you that you actually can do more than you originally set out to do, but naturally you will be able to achieve more. Hence why in the beginning of the episode, the very, very introduction, I made the mention of being able to systemize and simplify success. This is the very simple method. Do one more. That's it. Just do one more, and over time, you will reap the benefits. That's what I have for you for this episode. So real quick, let's go back through the 3 practical steps. And that is number 1, to not negotiate with your mind. The big takeaway from that is to take immediate action and do not give your mind a chance to negotiate. Second is to finish what you start. This will help you to develop the discipline to finish the task that you start by starting with small daily activities. And lastly, is to always do more than you said that you would. This will allow you to push past your limits and do more than you initially planned, which will allow you to build willpower and be able to just generally achieve way, way more than you ever thought was possible. And guys, that's what I have for you for this episode. Hopefully you learned something and hopefully you implement something. Take care, and I will see you in the next episode. And guys, that's going to wrap up this week's episode of Motivate, Grind, Succeed, the podcast. Guys, again, if you like what you heard, be sure to subscribe to the show for weekly uploads. If you love what you heard, be sure to sign up for that email list. And if you hated what you heard, be sure to share it with somebody who will appreciate it. Also, if you guys want to get access to the show notes or any kind of resource or link or to anything that was referenced in this episode, be sure to check out that episode description below. You'll also find the contact information, any freebies, or any sort of thing from our little corner of the internet. Check out the episode description. It's going to be an absolute gold mine for you guys. Until next time, take care, and I will see you in the next episode.